Hey guys, welcome back to the channel. My name is Chris and this is the Deimos Griffin G39, aka the Gripen. Licensing requirements state that they can't sell it under the Saab brand, but it obviously looks the part. In this video I'm going to give you a first look preview being that this is a work in progress model. It is not released, it's pre-release, they're still fixing some things. So I'm not going on a bug hunt, but I'm going to show you around and show you what you get when this is finally released. Sortie profile today will include a takeoff from RAF Lossiemouth, which is where we are, scenery available on flightsim.to. We're going to do some low level, some aerobatics, some low speed handling with this fly-by-wire high alpha type fighter jet, and then we're going to land at Inverness. Along the way I'll be doing some internal and external views so you can get an idea of what it looks like throughout all stages of flight, and I'll be commentating on what I think as we go. First off, I have to say the modelling is fantastic. It's actually one of the better models I have seen with 8K PBR textures, with lots of lovely details. I mean, look at the remove before flight flags swaying in the breeze. Lovely stuff. You get a full complement of blanks, tags, chocks, ladders, etc. All fairly nice. The texturing on some of the blanks could be improved, but as you won't see them for about 99.9% of the time, I can kind of forgive it. You get underwing stores, or underwing tanks I should say, that you can remove using the weights page on Microsoft Flight Sim. There are no smoke winders on this aircraft, not yet modelled, hopefully they come later, but you do get smoke included, and they do, or it does come from the wing tips. So it'd be nice to see them do some smoke winders like in the M346. You get a lot of liveries, and they are all really high quality liveries. I'm not going to, or in fact I may put a picture overlay whilst I'm talking. But I'm not going to show you them specifically just in case some get removed prior to release, but they are very, very nice liveries, and you may have seen some from my posts on YouTube. I think it's now time to jump in the cockpit and show you what's what in there. So I'm not quite in the cockpit, I'm still in drone cam, but I really wanted to show you the quality of the modelling and the attention to detail that's gone into this model. I mean, look at this head box on the ejection seat, the tubes, the piping, all very, very nice indeed. The ladder looks a little bit low poly, but it's thereabouts. But overall, inside, even in parts of the aircraft you wouldn't normally look at. I mean, look at the labels, the blue labels down here. Here we are in the cockpit of the Griffin, and it is very representative of the real airplane. Everything looks pretty darn authentic. The only thing that's a little bit more unusual that I didn't see in the cockpit photos I researched was the smoke buttons down to the right-hand side. But like I said, everything else looks to be in the right place, including an FMS in the lower left. So what we'll do now is go through startup, and I'll point out some really nice touches, really nice features, starting with this remove before flight tag. So if you click on that, it gets put into the stowage box, and you'll notice that all external bits and pieces, including the ladder, have disappeared, and if you want them back, just click on the box, and it comes back again. That is a really nice, simple implementation of getting rid of all the clutter. Like that a lot. Seat texturing is also very nice. The straps up close look fantastic. And those screens, those big Tesla type MFDs, look fantastic. Let's go ahead and shut the canopy pre-start and listen to the sounds. That sounded great. And I think all of the sounds, or at least the majority of them, are all custom. They sound really, really good. When we start the engine, I'll let you listen to that, and that sounds awesome as well. We have got mirrors with a decent amount of reflectivity in them, and you can move them if you want to. If the sun is reflecting into your eyes, you can move these as you need to. Okay, let's go for the startup then. So the canopy is closed and locked. You can see the handle is forwards with the canopy down. The seat is safe, and yes, that is movable if you wish. I've got the parking brake is lower right. I've got a key bound to it because it's kind of covered with lots of other stuff, but the parking brake looks to be on there. All the chocks and flags are removed, and I think it's time to apply some power. So lower right hand side, we've got main power, FCF, avionics, and yes, we'll talk about the avionics in just a second. Fuel cutoff switch, cover down, masses safe, and APU on. Once that's started, this yellow light will turn green, and then we've got the APU running. Whilst that starts up then, yes, it's Garmin screens, okay? Yeah, it's a little disappointing. However, I don't know if you'll agree with me, but I tend to think it sits quite nicely in the cockpit. The screens look fantastic on their own, and the integration of the Garmin screens looks all right. I think it works. On the right-hand side, you've got the map. You can change the scale up and down. On On the left-hand side, you've got your standard Garmin screen. I will mention at this stage that if you start up by default, it has synthetic vision. I find that causes my system stutters for some reason. So if you have that issue in this aircraft or others, it's the fourth button down, second button down, fourth button down, and that is it removed. At the moment, they've also got some issues with the CDI source not being able to change, but again, that's been reported and they're working through it. Also, talking about avionics, the other thing I'll mention is the center screen. You've got the engine instrumentation and flap position and speed brake. If you press the yellow button, you get another data entry similar to the UFCP. And press the yellow button to go back. On the UFCP, you've got autopilot functionality here. You've got course and heading. They've not been labeled, but that's what these ones are. And then you get a small representation of the Garmin input. Unfortunately, it looks like the buttons underneath there look a little bit low poly and not quite as nice as the rest of it. But hopefully the UFCP is certainly an area that I hope that they're going to go back and revisit and make better. Okay, so the APU is running. We should really have some lights on. Lights are down to the lower left. We've got the nav light on. We'll put the lights there to bright. Let's start the engine. So fuel shuttle switch is down. The start switch is on the left-hand side, just here. You see the N2 is rising, and we'll jump to the outside just to listen to this fantastic noise. That sounded brilliant. Cool, the engine start switch is still in the start position, so that'll click to stop when the engine's completed its start cycle. Looks like the EGT or the temperatures have stabilized, and there's the start switch gone off. That's start complete. You'll notice the only two caution warnings, well, you have brakes, caution warning, but you also have an aux gen and an APU. And the reason they're on is because the APU is still on, and I'll switch that off manually. Whilst we're here, the other nice little touches on the left-hand side behind the straps, if you can get to it. Ha! There's a refuel probe, which looks awesome. Let's put that back in. And the sounds are great. I love it. Okay, I think we are on our way to getting to the runway. What else do I need to do? I'm not sure if any of the other switches are in use at the moment. You can toggle them, but they won't make much difference at this stage, I don't think. So other than that, let's put the taxi light on. Lower left. The anti-ice on. And this on. And let's taxi out to the runway. You'll probably hear in the background the servo chattering. I think that's something to do with the fly-by-wire, trying to adjust things on the ground. And again, hopefully they can fix that prior to release. But look at this. Looks so nice. The ground handling is really easy. It's a little bit like a go-kart. They could probably tone that down a little bit, make it feel a bit heavier than it is at the moment. But otherwise, just simple to taxi. You don't necessarily have to use flap, but you can, whilst on the ground, select flap down to take off. And then once you're airborne, the fly-by-wire will take over. So you can see flap it's indicating, and also speed brake. Also, speed brake is indicated here. Okay, so that's flaps. Lights can go to landing. Squawk. Let's change the squawk. 4577. Enter. Squawking. Anti-ice is on the left-hand side. We've already done it. And I think we're good to go. Oh, seat. There we go. Learn from my mistakes earlier. Seat is armed. Can I see a pin? Not necessarily, but the seat is definitely armed. Cool. Oh, and mass. There we go. We're getting everything here. Mass live. This aircraft is obviously very quick at accelerating. It can take off on very short runways. In fact, it's often used on roads. I did try and find a decent road to use, but again, they're all a little bit lumpy. Time to light the fire. Oh, 140 knots, backstick, 10 degrees nose up, gear up. About 250 out of AB, and if you want to know if you're in AB or not, you've got a little caution warning down here that says thrust. Gear and flap looks like they're up. And we're airborne in the Griffin G39. And the handling of it, let's talk through some handling. It's pretty decent. It's a fly-by-wire type flight dynamics. You've got up to 20 units of alpha to play with. There are some nuances. If you do some loaded rolls around about 240 to 250 knots, it locks up a little bit. But I've been finding any aircraft that uses the default fly-by-wire flight dynamics has some sort of issue. Now, where that issue lies, I don't know, but I'll demonstrate some of that later. Let's see how slow I can get right now. But I've got full backstick, and it's just doing what I ask it to, which is cool. We'll do some more aerobatics at the end, so stick around for that. So we are cruising on out. Here's Elgin down to the left. We've got RAF Lossiemouth behind us. Kinloss you can just about see over here, and Inverness in the distance. So we're going to take a route down this valley here, and it is so very picturesque. So for low level, let's have a look. Fuel I'm not too worried about. We could change the squawk to 7001. And I'll do some flying from inside and out so you get an idea of what it looks like, what it feels like at low level. Depending on your preferred flying style. Are you one of those guys that flies from the outside, or are you cockpit only? Let me know in the comments below. Here we go. Let's cruise around at 450. Nice. And cruising down here with the road on the right, bit of traffic. It's just very comfortable. I mean, look at it. It looks fantastic. I mean, look at that. That is awesome. This valley flows down here and then it heads off to the west and you can follow the river. Really easy to navigate. And coming up to our first turn, let's have a look from the outside. Looks really nice. Bit of burner. Nice. I just really like the look of this aircraft. Those big screens, Garmin or not, just look fantastic. And cruising on around at low level is just so comfortable. There's no pitchiness in the aircraft. In fact, let's talk about pitchiness. So I found with all the aircraft that use the fly-by-wire modeling in the sim, the pitch is very much delayed. It should be more linked to the stick. So the G should almost be instantaneous, but it's got a bit of lag to it. But on the Plus, if you're just cruising around, it's just really easy to fly. Distracted by my shadow. Well, that is just a lot of fun. Okay, time to head to Elgin and do some aerobatics. So let's see what this zoom climb's all about. So we're starting off at about 370 knots into AB. Awesome. Right, time to get down there. Here we go. So what I'll do now is I'll put it through its paces inside the cockpit, It's not going to be perfect, but it'll get an idea of how it handles. And then I'll have flight from the outside so you can get a look at that view. I'll do some smoke as well before we come back in for a run and break. Now this Inverness scenery does sometimes cause some stutters as it loads, but hopefully not too bad. My manoeuvres, I'm going to start between 350 and 400 knots. Now, I have found there have been some nuances with this fly-by-wire model. Around about 250 knots with a loaded roll, that's roll and pitch. It will sometimes lock up in terms of aileron, but let's see what we get. I'll try and avoid using burner. Here's just the roll. High alpha, where are we at? 21 alpha. That's cool. That's really nice. It's kind of a min radius turn. Probably want to be a bit slower for that, but full backstick, AB. I find if you do that full backstick as a turn and then roll out, the lag in the pitch will make you pitch up. Now I found that in the Typhoon as well occasionally. Oh, is he going to make it? Is he going to make it? Oh, he is. Hey, this is working out quite nicely. Now, let's do this loaded roll and see what happens. That's 240 knots. 250 knots. It just stops rolling around about the 90-degree point. But if you keep your maneuver below 240 knots during the roll, it'll let you get away with it. Or if you keep it higher, same deal. But I'll put that firmly under learning the aircraft and kind of learning to fly the model. Also, it's a little bit unusual. It's nothing that you can't teach yourself to avoid, and that's kind of part of being a pilot. I'm chuckling because it's so satisfying to just go backstick A, B and pull 20 units. Alright, roll out, unload. Oh, this is cool. Right, I guess it's time to fly from outside. And now it's time to pop some smoke. White smoke on. Well, I could do that for hours, but you probably don't want me to do that on this video, so let's stop there. We'll switch off the smoke and just watch what happens outside. Smoke off, and unfortunately, at the moment, all the smoke disappears. Now, that should be easily fixable, so that you can do a display with some smoke and then do some intermittent smoke as well, so definitely worth considering prior to release. So now let's go back in for a run and break and land. But I hope you're enjoying this video. If you like the content, please help support the channel. Like and subscribe is always appreciated. But let me know down in the comments what you think about this airplane. The developer often reads the comments, so it's your chance to have your own little feedback, but please keep it respectable. Okay, time for the run and break. So if you're 350 to 400 knots, it's definitely worth popping a little bit of speed brake in the brake. If you're less than 350 knots, you can just use the G and the alpha to slow down. Okay, we roll, pull. I'll pop the speed brake a little bit. Pop the speed brake back in as we approach 250 knots. A little bit of aileron sticking there, that's alright. Downwind, 800 feet, that'll do. Gear. Looking good. Alpha. 45 degrees. And round the turn. Now I find round the turn, a bit of speed brake is actually useful on final to slow it down. But quite happily, carefree handling includes the final turn, so I can pull all the way to 20 alpha. And it won't stall and fall out of the sky, so it's a really simple plane to fly, as you'd expect. Okay, how are we looking? We're about 4 degrees on alpha. Keeping it in idle, bit of speed brake, flare, flare, flare. And down. So that concludes this first look preview of the Griffin G39. Let me know what you think. I've certainly enjoyed flying it. Hopefully you got from my experience, my comments, that the visuals are fantastic, the flight dynamics are pretty darn good, and the only real downside for those that are really into their system depth are the Garmin screens, but I think they look great. But overall, gets a thumbs up from me. It's still early access, early preview. But until the next video, take care, fly safe.